downloaded.
Playing with your Kindle on stream.
Yeah,
I'm guessing he'll cut that in post.
So this is my old Kindle that I've had, and this is my new one, my new Paperwhite. Look how much bigger it is. And it's metallic green. How cool is that?
Very fun.
Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
That's bougie.
I don't like to brag, but I will.
I have a green Kindle.
Ooh la la. Yeah. It's the first time I've ever seen a Kindle that comes in different colors.
Well, hello, everyone.
Hello. We're just going to have our guests take over introductions for us. Welcome to Indie. Oh, excuse me. Hashtag Indie Summer. Is it week 3, Abby? I lose track.
It is.
It's week 3.
It is. It's 3.
This week, our topic is jacket copy, aka marketing copy. Are they the same thing? Do they serve the same purpose? I don't know. But our resident writer / editor, Douglas Landsborough, he's a friend of ours. We know him. We said, you know what? Let's bring Doug in. Because let's be honest, he's been a little on the outside looking through the Indie Summer windows, wondering what's Hank and Abby doing and how come I'm not invited. That's another
It's actually raining out here as I'm looking in through the window.
Exactly.
You guys are around the warm fire, laughing, having fun, drinking tea.
So his red hair is just pasted to his forehead as the rain is just beating down on him, and little droplets off the tip of his nose.
That's sad, redheaded stepchild.
Literally.
I didn't even know that was like a thing. I don't know actually if I knew you, Abby, when I discovered this, but someone left it as a review on one of my books saying they were upset that the main character got beat, like, quote, the redheaded stepchild in one scene. So that
I literally married a redheaded stepchild, so that is always the joke in our family. So
oh, B, thank you so much. Thank you. All right. Yeah, I'm not even going to take over the hosting role. It's weird though being on this side, being the guest. Right? That's a strange experience for me, so I'm
So week 1. Let's just do a real quick recap. Week 1, we talked about making sure your book is finished. And we talked about and this, we kind of did a drive-by on editing, because at this point we're really talking about publishing. So your book should be finished. And we did have some great info on that week about just making sure that it's finished, making sure that it's the presentable product that you want the rest of the world to see. And then last week, what did we talk about, Abby?
We talked about covers.
Of course, we talked about covers. Of course we did. And of course, I drew a complete blank for a second. But yes, we talked about.
I almost did too.
I was like, gosh, I feel like I've slept since then. We
no
talked
one judges a book by them, though. So are they that important?
Ooh, that's a hot take. That's a scalding hot take.
That is a wrong take, actually.
It is a very, very wrong take. And we talked about why it's a wrong take. Because and we did discuss that you can do a cover yourself. There are ways where you can pinch pennies, save some money, develop that first cover. Hopefully, as you earn some money from your book, maybe you can upgrade those covers. But we got some great advice from Jeff Brown about, if you can't afford to hire a designer, there are things you can do to help you get a presentable cover, yay, even a competitive cover, if you just follow some very basic principles and don't try to do too much. I think that was one of the big takeaways, is don't try to do too much. Remember, typography is more important than your iconography. That's the wrong word for that, I know, but the visual representation, the making sure that your typography is legible, readable, and gives the feeling of your genre. Those things are important, and he gave us some great tips on how to Find one that you like and you think is representative of your genre, and how you can duplicate it, or at least get in the same ballpark. So if you missed any of those, go back and watch those. They're freely available on our YouTube channel. No barrier to entry. Go back and reconsume all that. But we find ourselves in week number 3 now. We've got a finished manuscript. We've got a cover that is a marketable cover. And now we need to develop some copy that allows it when our cover catches the eye and they want to click on it and they want to read more. That's what we're here to talk about today. So, Doug, introduce yourself to our audience. Everybody knows you already, but we're going to have people that come in that don't know us, and this is their first introduction to us. So tell everybody who you are and why you are uniquely qualified to be our guest this week.
All right. I'll keep the imposter syndrome down, which I have to do every time I introduce myself. Like, even when we do the workshops, I have an introduction slide and I just kind of blitz through it. Yeah, I hate that feeling. But here we go. My name's Doug. I'm the Dean of W Academy here at Dabble, and W Academy is a suite of resources and features that include access to courses, a monthly live workshop and all the replays from the workshop, bonus resources, a community exclusive within the larger W campus community, a bonus newsletter, and just a ton of really great stuff. And that evolved from stuff that I brought to Dabble Premium over the last year and a half, and now stands as its own thing. And you can get access to it via W Campus and go into the Academy directly, or with Dabble Premium. Before that, I wrote a lot for Dabble. A lot of the W articles that you'll find over on our blog, I either wrote or edited. And beyond that, I've published, indie published 5 books. 3 of them were #1 new releases, and one of those was actually a #1 bestseller. I have 3.5 other first drafts done. Well, no, first drafts and revised drafts. My novella is almost ready to go. We're getting there. And then on top of that, husband, editor, dog dad. I play a lot of D&D. I'm playing D&D tonight for the 2nd time this week because we're coming up on the grand finale of this arc that we've been going through. So I'm very excited for that. And that about sums it up for me, I think.
3.5 finished drafts. And tell us your plans for those. I mean, while we're recapping, what are you doing with those?
So they're all going to be indie published.
Okay.
I guess maybe it's more like 3.25. 3.5 is generous. But I have a novella that is the closest one to being done, and that's going to be my lead magnet for my newsletter list. And we're going to do like a case study workshop later this year based on that and talk all about lead magnets. And I know lead magnets are one of the topics coming up in Indie Summer as well. So I'm going to leverage most of what you guys do and then take credit for it myself.
I have a bomb to drop with that one too, by the way.
Okay.
Onto it, but I want you guys to know.
I just want to interject here for just a second, because we absolutely want to get into your news, Abby, because I know you are about to bubble over.
What's my news?
You said you had bombs to drop.
Oh, during that week.
That's for the week coming up.
Oh, okay. But you have had some interaction this week that made you feel a certain way, because you told me about it.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll just have to say, Doug's got 3.25 finished manuscripts or first drafts done, and I have a bunch as well. And I was thinking, like last calendar year, like the last 2024, let's just put it that way. Doug and I don't know what it was, but there was a certain energy that we were feeding off of each other. It feels like, because at the end of the year, we both had a pile of books finished that we were just like I was kind of coming out of a little bit of a burnout stage. Doug, self-admittedly, had experienced some burnout, and we just challenged each other and fed off of that. And I think we both had like very creative years. And so the moral of that story, this is a side lesson that doesn't cost you any more. Find a friend that you can encourage each other, because that's what you get. You get a pile of finished books when you have, friendly competition / camaraderie.
Yeah. And I was actually thinking for this novella that's going to be a lead magnet, I still need to make jacket copy for it. This coming on to the show this week for this, I'm like, I need to come up with this, and I'm not saying I'm dreading it, but it is not the same kind of writing. It's very markety writing, right? So it'll be interesting to come up with that. It's also going to be interesting because I plan on giving this one away for free, but I might try and play a little bit of the Amazon game and see if I can get it listed on Amazon for free as well. If not right away, then when I have a sequel for it, because I want to try a 2-pronged lead magnet approach. We're getting way ahead of ourselves.
When you do that, Doug, question:
Yeah.
If you give it away for free on Amazon, can you link to one of your books at the very last page? Like, is that part of the strategy if it's free on Amazon?
Amazon can be very picky about where you link to. So if you aren't linking to an Amazon page or you aren't linking to your website, they might come back and give you a little bit of grief. But they are more or less okay with either of those two things. What will be interesting to see is when I have the sequel for this novella, it's going to be like, hey, if you enjoyed this, you can grab the next one for free at my website, so I can secure that email address. And if there's that explicit, get this second for free by going elsewhere, we'll see how much they want to play with that one. I'm hoping it just kind of scoots under the radar, though.
You'll have to keep us posted.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. But when it comes to like my qualifications for jacket copy, it goes back to those 5 books that I've published and just a marketing background and the privilege of being able to talk about and research and write about this kind of stuff for a living. So I've been doing that for, I don't know, 5 years now. How long have I been with Dabble? Probably close to 5 years, 4 or 5 years I've been with Dabble and getting to write about all this stuff. And that helps me ease that imposter syndrome feeling whenever I talk about it.
Every accomplishment helps to chisel away at that imposter syndrome. But there's nothing as awkward as having to talk about yourself, especially if you're, like to default to self-effacing humor and when someone wants you to rattle off your accomplishments, it's never easy. But anyway,
Speaking of that self-effacing humor, though, can I just say I'm going to give you guys listening a little spoiler alert. Doug has promised to roast himself before the end of this podcast. And I'm so excited to see him do this. So just saying, everybody hang in.
Too, so, but it's fun. But yes, please.
If we're talking about indie publishing, because this is #indie summer, let's be honest, the majority of our sales the majority of our books that are sold are probably going to be ebooks. Now audiobooks are factoring into that as the biggest growth market in publishing. Paperbacks are a thing. But usually you get more paperback sales from in-person events or selling to Uber fans on your website. That's more of a direct sales kind of thing. You can sell paperbacks on Amazon. I have sold a number of paperbacks on Amazon. I sell way more paperbacks to people I know, or if I'm doing a local signing event or something like that, I move way more paperbacks in person than I ever do on Amazon. So if we're talking about jacket copy, for 80 to 85% of the time, we're talking about Amazon marketing copy or Barnes and Noble or Kobo or Apple Books or Google, whatever the marketplace is. We're talking about ebooks being sold on a digital marketplace. So if we're taking that context, is jacket copy the same as sales copy for your Amazon page? Is it safe to say those are the same thing, or do we need to think differently about those two things?
I think we need to think differently about them in that it's not a bad thing to use your jacket copy from your book as your sales page copy. Especially if you've done the work and written good jacket copy, it can do a perfectly fine job. But I'd give it like a B, maybe a B+ if it's good. The thing about sales page copy is that we have more potential. with it, because on the back of your book you only have so much space, and even within that space you want white space, or blank space, whatever the cover design is. You don't want it to be crowded, because if it looks crowded, it's a little overwhelming and people will be less inclined to read it, and our minds just don't like it as much. But with an Amazon store page or an Amazon product page, you have more space, and even better, you can update it more regularly. So you can do a little bit of testing, a little bit of optimization. You can include things that wouldn't fit on a back cover or wouldn't look good on a back cover. So you can use it, but you are missing out on the potential of sales page copy if you're just copying and pasting.
Okay. SK has a comment. I'm just going to pop up here. I don't even know what a jacket copy or sales copy is. Could we clarify real quick? Let's just get right down to what. So you've said jacket copy, literally the copy on the back jacket of the book. And like Doug was saying, it really should, there's certain information that it needs to convey, but it also needs to be pleasing to the eye. It needs to draw the reader in. Before they even read a word, they need to look at it and feel like it's something that they want to read. Like there's a certain psychology that goes to jacket copy as well. What information needs to be on the back jacket of the book?
Well, I'm hoping that everyone who's here has watched Abby's video about this, because it is spot on, right? It contains all of the stuff that you need to know for jacket copy. It's fantastic. And if I pull up my notes here, you included the hook, the mini synopsis, and the cliffhanger or sales pitch as the formula. And that really boils down to it. And so when you break that up, I actually split up the mini synopsis into two other parts, and I called one the pitch and one I just called it expand. So it's not really a great noun to go with it, but it is still the mini synopsis. But the way that I split it up with the hook, it's going to be the most markety part of your blurb. It's usually in bold at the top. It's the most catchy one. It promises something, or it asks a question, or it's just very genre specific verbiage in there to get people who are interested or who could be interested be like, okay, I want to read more about this, right? And then the pitch, the first part of the mini synopsis, is where you're going to pull in information about your protagonist, about your setting, and more about your genre, and that's going to get them deeper into it. But then you're usually going to have a second paragraph after that within the mini synopsis, and that's where you're going to expand on it, and you're going to talk about like the internal conflict or the emotions that are going to come up, or a subplot that's going to come up within it that affects the larger plot. And then you're going to wrap it all up with some kind of call to action, which generally is some kind of question, something, as Abby said, to pique their curiosity or hint at what's to come, something like that. Now, it changes on a book versus on a sales page, because on a sales page, you can say, and we can circle back to this after, but you can explicitly say things like, read now to find out more about this. And that on a back cover would look kind of wonky. Like it would look kind of right? But on a sales page, it's proven to be pretty effective, and is a good call to action to get people to click because they want to read now. And giving that kind of assertive command in marketing actually has benefits, but it doesn't fit on a back page. So that's really the three pieces of it, with one piece broken up into like two mini pieces, I guess. But that's the gist of it, right? For a good back copy.
Do you have anything you want to add to that, or a follow-up question, Abby?
No,
you look like you were going to say something.
I do kind of have a follow-up question.
Okay.
So I, just as you were talking, I pulled the first top two books off my little stack. You guys, it looks nice and neat behind me, but it's just stacks of books on this side. I have a feeling we're probably all kind of in that same boat, but I just pulled the top two books off my stack, and I went to Amazon and pulled up their pages, and I read the backs, and it was exactly the same as what was on the back. So some of this extended sales copy Where would you put that? Would you put that on your own website, or did I just happen to pick two duds that maybe they were
Not
lazy and they just
everyone, not everyone does different ones. And actually, before we move on to that, could you hold up the thinner book that you had there, the back of it?
It's a chapter book for very young kids. So we're talking
Yeah.
about kids who are like first, second grade.
But for this one, what's interesting is the art also dictates the back copy there. So it looks really, really cool. And that's something that's going to catch interest, especially for someone who's younger. It's nice and colorful.
That's different.
But that dictates how much
It's
space
glittery.
you have to write as well. Right? So that's something
Yeah.
that you need to keep in mind for back copy page is the art if you're incorporating it into the geometry. But yes, otherwise, if you're just putting it over the art, you do whatever. Right?
Like this one is super busy. It's very hard to read. Half of it is like the, Aiden Thomas from the New York Times says, Melinda Lowe from the New York Times says, but with the picture underneath it, I'm having difficulty reading it, but I'm sorry, this part is awesome.
Everyone loves those edges now.
I mean, so
so that is something to think about too when it comes to jacket copy or back cover copy. Think about how it looks because it is still part of your cover. It needs to look good. And I agree, that one looks pretty busy. Even if you were to hold it closer, I think myself and everyone else here, we're limited because we see you on a small screen and don't have it in our hands. But it's still, even if you had it close to you, very busy and a lot of text on a very busy piece of art. Right. So that's something to keep in mind.
And I mean, if I'm breaking down the artist in me too, I can tell it's a dark background. It's a white font, but they have a drop shadow behind it, which does help. So people like Reed, my friend Reed, who's out in internet land listening up, he's really good at this kind of stuff. I think that's one of the things, if you're doing this yourself at home and you do opt for a really busy cover, but you want it to be readable, make sure you think about things like drop shadows to help that text pop. But yeah, on the screen, that's hard to see.
Yeah. You'll also find a lot of stuff. So one of the ones, the busy one you had there had quotes on it too, which is something that you will find more often on traditionally published covers than indie published covers. And what do you got there, Hank?
That's all that one is.
This is Kyle Mills' new book. It releases on Tuesday. He was on the show yesterday. The whole back cover is nothing but blurbs.
Was that a dust jacket?
And because no, this is the final hardback release. But it's a Lee Child, Ryan Steck, Steve Barry, Vince Flynn, Tom Clancy. Like, it's Vince Flynn and Tom Clancy actually blurbed this from the grave. So that's the whole thing. But because it's a hardcover, your jacket copy is on the inside jacket, and then the back cover is Kyle's bio info. So traditionally published hardbacks tend to follow a little different format. So I just want to kind of show that as an example.
I have heard it called flap copy.
Yes, flap copy.
Makes me think of flabby arms, though. So,
and I want to compare that with Mary Robinette Kowal, one of Brandon Sanderson's co-hosts from the Writing Excuses podcast. This is a paperback of the Calculating Stars, and on the back it has a traditional. I'm getting reflection from the screen, but yeah, you get traditional back cover copy. So I just wanted to show the difference in a paperback and hardback, how those were typically done.
So, and I want to circle back to those afterwards, but I want to answer your question, Abby. So for the traditionally published folks, you tend to have a lot of quotes on it because they have quotes from people like Tom Clancy, who is, no longer with us yet, quoting praise for a book. Or you have
for Tom,
Stephen
who
King
didn't join us today.
Yeah, you have Stephen King. I had what is it? Lee Bardugo's Ninth House pulled up here, and the best fantasy novel I've read in years because it's about real people, impossible to put down, attributed to Stephen King, right? Or made by his publicist and attributed to Stephen King. You can include that on your cover or on your jacket copy because people know who Stephen King is. the vast majority of indie authors don't have people reviewing their book who are notable enough to include on a cover. So what we do instead is on the sales page copy, we include reviews from Goodreads. We include excerpts from reviews from Amazon. We include excerpts from blogs that have reviewed our books. And that goes a long way in selling your credibility to people who have never heard of you. And perhaps you only have like 10, 20, 50 reviews on, or like for your book on that page. That really goes a long way in helping. Something else that indie authors do to help with their sales, and let me pull up one of my examples here so I can read it specifically. I just listened to Steve Gilmore's Heaven's Dark Soldiers, book 1 through 3. I don't know if I'm going to read book 4. I'm going to be honest, but enjoyable enough for me. But he has his jacket copy as the description, has the hook, has the premise, has the call to action at the end, and then after that in bold, perfect for fans of Jim Butcher's Dresden Files, Kevin Hearn's Iron Druid Chronicles, or Steve McHugh's Harlequin Chronicles. And that's another thing that we have in our indie author toolkit, is to include comps in that description. And that is not only essential for people reading it and trying to make a decision, very important for search engine optimization. If someone's searching Amazon for Kevin Hearn's Iron Druid Chronicles, okay, now we have something pulling this book into that search result. Might not be at the top. Ideally, Kevin Hearn's book should be up at the top, but this can pull it into there as well. So that's playing double duty, and it's still included in there in a way that feels organic because we are selling this to someone.
Nice.
After that,
also, can I ask a question about comps?
Yep.
So, and because you're an indie author and you're using this in your sales copy, you're not playing by the same traditional rules that I think people think about with comps, right? And agents want them to only be between 3 and 5 years, so they want them to be recent. But like my book is very much like for fans of Mary Norton's The Borrowers or Charlotte's Web. So those actually would rank pretty high, I would think, in Amazon classic children's literature. So it would be good to then include that for fans of in my sales copy, correct? Because then people who are looking for those books might also find mine. So they don't have to be recent. They just have to be relevant.
Correct. And it's more, it's like, it's playing double duty, but it is more important for people to be able to connect your book to that other one in their head than the SEO part of it. Because when so the SEO helps, but especially when you're talking about like Charlotte's Web, very popular book, right? So a lot of people are going to be including that in their description. Right. So it will help, but you're going to get a little bit lucky if someone clicks on it through that. More importantly, they're going to read it and be like, okay, I love Charlotte's Web. I know that's age appropriate or genre appropriate. I love the themes in it. I love the characters, the tone, what have you. Okay, I'm going to give this one a shot. Right. If you don't include that comp, then you're relying on them figuring it out for themselves. And that's in a world where people are going and just trying to find their next read, and they're so hungry to just start another book, they're not usually going to take the time to make those connections. Right. But when it comes to coming up with these comps, you need to really do your research. You need to make sure you get it right and make sure that you're choosing the best ones, because even though we have more space in this description, in this store page or sales page copy, we still want to be concise. We don't want to drag it on and on. And there's a rule in marketing, in copywriting, that people's attention span when it comes to reading a page follows an F pattern. And so top right and all the way over to the top left, I think it might be backwards on your screen when I do that, whatever. Top right to top left, that's the most viewed one, right? And then they scroll down a little bit, they go right to left again, or sorry, left to right. I'm mixing it up in my head. Left to right is the way that we read. So top left to right. Down a bit, left to right. And then the farther down you get in that F, the less and less people are going to see it. Because their attention span goes like fizzles out. You have like 8 seconds of them scanning for them to pick up on something. So that's why we start with the hook. We start with the premise. And then the comps are there to kind of seal the deal for people who are still interested by the time they've read through it. So
you're putting that at the bottom?
Yeah, generally.
Okay.
Generally. Some people will put it at the top. For fans of Jim Butcher's Dresden Files, that's a decent hook, but it's not as good a hook as something that is more genre appropriate and punchy, right? What's more popular to see at the top of a sales page copy is a quote of like a review. So for Lee Bardugo's Ninth House, the top of it is the best fantasy novel I've read in years because it's about real people, impossible to put down, Stephen King. Because that, like, you don't get much better than that. Yeah. Yeah. And then it goes into, for Lee specifically, it goes into a hook that includes some credentials. So the smash New York Times bestseller from Lee Bardugo, a mesmerizing tale of power, privilege, and dark magic set among the Ivy League elite. That's a hook, but it also has her credentials in there of being a bestseller. Right, a little wombo combo. That doesn't work as well for indie authors who don't have a fan base as large as Lee Bardugo's fan base, right? Not just because, well, indie people can't be New York Times bestsellers. That's just a bias that the New York Times has. But we are less likely to rank on those. We're more likely to be an Amazon bestseller, and that carries some weight, but again, generally not as much weight as just a punchy hook at the beginning or a really good review from a trusted source. If you get a good review from, like, I write dark fantasy and urban fantasy, if there was a YouTuber out there who focused on one of those subgenres and had like 2 million subscribers, 1 million subscribers, 500,000 subscribers, I might include a quote from them because that can carry a lot of weight. But I wouldn't include a Goodreads or Amazon excerpt at the top of my copy because that doesn't carry as much weight.
Yeah. And if we've learned anything over the last decade about sales ranks and like the New York Times bestseller list, for whatever reason, still carries weight with traditional publishing. And we all have seen story after story of how the system is gamed over and over again. It's not a unique representation of actual sales. And still we want to see New York Times bestseller. I don't know what it is. It's just brain share that they have just inundated us with for decades over and over again. And yeah, the indie crowd doesn't get to participate in that game. And on one hand, you're like, well, thank God we don't have to play that stupid politics. But on the other hand, like for some reason it still carries weight. It's so weird. You know, the psychology of sales is a crazy, crazy thing.
Yeah. Absolutely. The other thing that we can include in sales page copy that doesn't fit on a back page copy, this actually comes from one of my co-authored books. And my co-author, MD Massey, Mike Massey, he took care of all of this. He, earns a lot more money than I do from his books every year. So he took care of all the sales page stuff for this. And in it, he has the hook, bold, big font, italicized as well. I'm not a fan of italics, but if it works, it works. And then after the blurb, this book's called Breach of Magic. He says Breach of Magic is the first full-length novel in this new paranormal detective series written by M.D. Massey and D. William Landsborough. The story features characters from Massey's Druidverse contemporary fantasy setting. So that doesn't mean a whole lot to the people listening right now unless they've read his Druidverse stories. But for someone who is a fan or who has read some of those other books, that's an instant sell right there. Right. That's a way, hey, it takes place, it's related to these other things. Okay, that's an easy way to get into it. But he also goes on to say, if you enjoy urban fantasy cop novels featuring hard-boiled detectives, supernatural creatures, and mysteries filled with danger and devilry, then you'll love Breach of Magic. Grab your copy and start reading it today. Again, call to action, grab your copy, start reading it today. It's just a little more compelling. And then those things that all came before, hard-boiled detectives, supernatural creatures, mysteries filled with danger and devilry, people might be interested in that, but it's also playing that SEO game at the same time. So it's doing double duty. And then the third thing that he includes in this underneath part, note to readers, and goes on to say, the Cerberus Paranormal Detective series, which is the name of the series, consists of short action-packed reads. So we're setting expectations because they are shorter novels. They were like 60 to 70,000 words long. If you're looking for an epic fantasy length book, this is not it. These are Doc Savage or the Executioner length novels. So we're pulling in some comps in terms of length and style. Also, the main character is a veteran and a cop. These characters talk like soldiers and cops. They curse. You've been warned, which is I thought funny at first.
Cute,
And I'm
yeah.
like, why are we including that? One review is like, they swear too much. I don't know if I can read the next one. And you'll actually see, especially, I don't know why, but in urban fantasy, I guess there's varying degrees of cursing in urban fantasy, but there's a lot of sass and, you know, sarcasm and wit in urban fantasy. It's one of the tropes of the genre. Um, and so I guess there's a spectrum where you can be sassy without swearing, and then you can be sassy with a lot of swearing. And these books tend towards that end of the spectrum. And so people go in without that expectation if they haven't read the copy, and they can be a little thrown off by it. So it's not essential to include a disclaimer like that. Like, I don't have that in my other work, and there's swearing and there's gore and there's violence in my other work. But my other work
Horror,
is
you
dark
would
fantasy.
think, though, right?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, yeah.
So the genre sets or subgenre sets a more appropriate expectation. So that's something you might want to think about in your sales page copy as well.
Okay, I have another question for you. So many people who are listening, you know, myself included, we're working on putting our first books out into the world. So we don't necessarily have these blurbs or these reviews or these added characters or other series that we can sort of connect back to. We could do, like you said, for fans of, right? But would you suggest that as we grow and gather and get these blurbs and accolades and recommendations, that then you circle back around, and that one of the benefits of being indie published is that you are always able to update?
Yes,
And
100%.
so we just
Absolutely. Yeah. So I guess, do you guys mind if I share my screen for a moment here?
do it.
Right
Do
ahead.
it.
Okay. So I'm going to show you two of my books, and this is where the bit of the self roast comes in, because one of these sales page copies has been left to rot and needs updating.
Don't worry. If your roast is insufficient, we'll pick up the slack.
We'll help.
Yo, you're so
I'm
kind.
kidding. Kidding.
Okay, let's do this one. Okay, and I guess, can I zoom in a little? Okay, so this is the second book in my series, and here
Love that cover, by
is,
the way.
thank you. All custom art for, oh, I didn't know it would zoom in. Custom art for all my dark fantasy work. I absolutely adore it. I love my artist. Happy to, you know, do that. So this copy, in all its poor formatting glory, is right from the back of the book. This is my back cover blurb, right? And it's just pasted in there, and I haven't been marketing this one at all. And so I haven't thought about going back and updating it. I've been more focused on the first one, Archangel, which I'll show you in a second. So this is what I would give like a C-, because I think the copy is actually good, but I think it's suffering from some stuff. So we have some hook with the bold, but realistically, this could be moved into one line. It looks a little weird the way that it juts in and out like that. So I'd play around with that. This is just a wall of text right now. It just needs spacing in it. If you look at the cover, there is spacing in there that doesn't translate over to here. And then we have 3 punchy lines at the end that serve as a compelling, hey, go and read this, but they get lost in this whole wall of text. So they don't stand out and serve their purpose, right? Now, if we go to Archangel here, sorry, let me get rid of the pop-up. So if you were to compare this copy with this copy, it's different. It's like there are some similar lines, but I workshopped this one, and I actually worked with somebody else who knows advertising, Amazon advertising, to get this to the place that it is. And it's just a revamped version of what this is. But you'll see angels are on the brink of extinction, demons rule over mankind. I think that's a decent hook. If I saw a book, I'd be like, yeah, I'm interested in that. But he then took, it's been a decade since Earth descended into ruin, and we changed that to, it's been a decade since the war between heaven and hell, a war that heaven lost. That's now the hook, and that's a heck of a lot more compelling because it paints this scene that people aren't familiar with, and it can be like, oh, okay, I want to know more. And then we go on. We have, this sets up the world. This tells us about the protagonist. And then this goes into things about faith being questioned. It goes into some subplots, some themes, some secondary characters with the half demon that's going to be with him. And then we get into what is honestly a review that made my heart so happy that I just needed to share it on the page, followed by a bold read now. What I could do, and what I probably will do after this, is I can go in and I can put above this from best-selling fantasy author D. William Landsborough, right? Or I can put it down here, something about my bestseller status, because I've hit that accolade since this has been published, right? So this I would give like I'd honestly give this like a B+. I'm quite happy with this one, and it leaves room for more. And what I can do as well, switching back to back cover, is we have all this space here that's empty. Once I get the third book in this series out, I can then go and take the snippets of the first 3 covers and say, read the Shadows Advent series, boom, boom, boom. That's something that you can do on covers that you cannot do here. You can't have images in this product description. So that's one advantage to back covers. And I think there is one that you have, Abby, that you might be looking for that has that.
Yeah. Like this one had it here. I had one that had 3 on it.
Oh no, Hank had one.
Hank
Brandon
had it with 3, but these.
Brandon Sanderson's co-host.
Yeah.
On the back. Yeah. That's what inspired me for it.
Yeah.
But I think
Can you go back to your first one? I have a question.
Yeah. This one?
Yeah. That one. Okay. Yeah. So do you think that, and I'm remembering correctly, the back copy is the same as what is here. It's just the spacing, because like this does have that F shape. I see what you mean. You need spaces between the paragraph lines to give your eyes a little rest. But where it's on the back of the book, it's center justified instead of left justified. But that works better, right? On the back.
Yep. So, sorry, I don't know. What's the question?
I don't know what my question was, except it's literally just you need to go in and put the spaces in. You would
at a bare minimum,
actual words.
Yeah, at a bare minimum, I need to do that. And I don't think if it updated immediately, I would go in and do it right now so you could see the difference. But I think Amazon has to approve changes like that, and they do it with some automation, but it doesn't happen instantaneously. But if we go, so here's Rise of the Giants that I was referring to before. And it's the same thing. Bold at the top. You got your blurb. And then here's bold comps. A little separation. You can do stars. You can do lines. You can do whatever. And then what people are saying. And some great quotes in it, right? Fans of Jim Butcher, Shane Silver's A Supernatural Thrill Ride. Imagine Dean Winchester colliding with Deadpool. That would get me to buy the book. 100% right there. I also pulled up Empire of the Vampire, one of my favorite books, dark fantasy masterpiece. Jay Kristoff is a traditionally published author, but starts with some credentials up here, more credentials. And then what's interesting about this one is it actually starts with this like line of prophecy or lines of prophecy that recur throughout the book, which normally I wouldn't suggest for a lot of back cover copy, except this is so genre appropriate and makes you interested that it works there, right? And who am I to argue with whoever published Jay Kristoff? Like they have a whole marketing team behind them. It works, and Jay Kristoff has a big enough fan base that it works. But then you go into the same structure. This is your hook. This all combined is the hook for this book. And then you go into the premise, and then we talk about the protagonist, and then we talk about subplots and themes and other things that come up in it. And then your call to action is, it's kind of a joint one here. A story of legendary battles and forbidden love, of faith lost and friendships won, of the wars of the blood and the forever king and the quest for humanity's last remaining hope, the Holy Grail. And the Holy Grail on its own line just stands as the CTA. And you're like, okay, I got to read this now. Right. One other one that I pulled up, I got to be cognizant of time. V.E. Schwab has a book that came out last month, I think, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. I don't know anything about it. Actually, I was looking for The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue to see what that that copy was like. But the way that this is set up is really interesting. So you have your, from V. Schwab, the #1 New York Times bestseller of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. There's your credentials. A new genre-defying novel about immortality and hunger. A little bit of a hook, but honestly, this, if you're coming up with your own back copy, don't do something like this, because this is not a strong enough hook if you don't have the fan base that V. Schwab has. Right? This means nothing as a hook. But what is effective, this is a story about hunger. Gives us a date, gives us a little bit of a, hey, this is what's going on. This is a story about love, another date, another thing. This is a story about rage, another date, another thing. This repetition makes it very, very compelling. This is one of the most unique back cover blurbs or sales page blurbs that I've seen in all the pages that I pulled up for this. This is really cool. So there is room to play around with the formula. The formula is proven, right? But there are cool things that you can do to try to be a little bit experimental, because if I saw something like this on an indie page, I would still be really interested. Right? It's not that she's traditionally published. It's not that she's as popular as she is. This is just very effective in its formatting and keeping you intrigued to learn about these 3 different storylines going on.
Will they show you the back of the book on there? Like if you,
I think I clicked on the,
one.
actually, what's funny, I think I clicked on the paperback and it is awful. And it doesn't give me a back cover blurb. So this brings me to something else I wanted to mention that I forgot about. You need to update when you indie publish the ebook, the paperback, and the hardcover, all of them. If you don't do that, you end up with something in the Kindle edition that looks fantastic and is very compelling, but then someone says, "Oh, I want a hard copy of it."
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah.
Click on the hardcover. Yeah. Same as, nope, there it is. It's all in there.
It's all here. And actually, what's interesting, I think they're pushing this because all first edition copies will be signed by the author. That's not something that you can do as an indie through Amazon as it stands right now. You might be
Doug,
able to.
Yep. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just dropped a link in the private chat for Mary Robinette Kowal's Amazon page for the Calculating Stars, and you can see what they did when she started winning a bunch of awards. How that back copy gets changed for Amazon for the sales copy. It's an interesting juxtaposition.
Let me here. I'll throw that up. So the Calculating Stars, and so here. Wow.
Yeah. She had quite a couple of years there.
Yeah. And so,
well,
and so her blurb
for people listening.
Yeah.
Tell them what's on the page. It's like a whole, just a list.
It's a list of the awards: Nebula Award, Locus Award, Hugo Award, Campbell Award, on, and magazines that listed named one of Esquire's 75 best sci-fi books of all time, Locus Trade paperback bestseller list, Publishers Weekly, BuzzFeed, blah, 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 and on and on and on and on. And you go through all of the accolades before it ever tells you anything about the book and what the book's about. So that's an interesting positioning for sales.
Lots of reviews.
Yeah, they tell you all the people that love the book, hoping that will push you to think, well, if everybody else loved this book, then surely I will.
Yeah. And so if you're indie publishing and there are plenty of contests out there and awards that you can apply for indie published books. Like it's really, there are some that still say indie books cannot, or indie authors cannot apply for this. But there are so many out there. And if you submit your book for one of those and you're a finalist or you're a winner, that's something that you could very well put at the top. Unlike a Goodreads review or an Amazon review where the source of that review doesn't mean anything to a stranger, saying, X award finalist or Y award winner before your sales copy is a great hook to sell yourself to a stranger. B saying personally, I click away before I ever got to what it's about and think tooting your own horn a bit, aren't you? Which
that is the downside, is that there is a risk that's run of being off-putting. That you're absolutely right there, B, and that's
yeah. But what you'll find is that the people who are doing this, who are front loading all of this credential stuff and all these reviews and bestseller status and whatnot, they are very well established authors whose fans will buy this and put them back on the bestseller list without them having to sell it. So if Mary Robinette Cowell here, is it Cowell? Did I say that right?
Cowell.
Cowell. If she wasn't as established as she was, then she wouldn't, or her team wouldn't do this, because this will not sell a book. If you come to a page of an author you don't know, and you don't know anything about this book either, you can't see, unless you click read more, anything about the book. And that will drive people away. Guaranteed, there have been sales lost because of that, but there are just so many sales through other avenues, and through her being so well known, and through her work being so popular. Like 36,000 ratings on Goodreads is absurd.
Yep.
That's so many, that they don't care if they lose some stranger who doesn't understand what the book's about, because they're already making a ton of money off of this. All right. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Is there anything else I wanted to say about any of those? I don't think so. But what you should be doing as well when you're thinking about your back cover copy, your jacket copy, or your sales page copy, there's 4 things that I think you should know before you even try writing it. Know your reader. And by that, I mean, know who you're trying to target, what they like to read, the tropes they love, the tone and voice that they love. Know your genre, which is a big part of knowing your reader, but it means knowing the other tropes of your genre, the styles of your genre, and know your competitors who are also in that genre and your subgenre. See what they're doing, see how they structure it, see the tone that they go for, see their word choice and how they pace even the back cover, and then know keywords as well. Because you want to, again, this is marketing copy. It's not creative writing. It's not artistic. There is some creativity in it. And it's not like it's not a chore. It's not a thing that's going to make you sad to do, but it's not easy. And it draws on a different skill set than writing a book. So I'd say know those 4 things: reader, genre, competitors, or comparables. I guess they're not really competitors, and keywords.
I was going to say that, but buying books, that's not a zero-sum game for people. Most people, when they think about a competitor, if I buy your book, Doug, and your book, somebody has said is like my book, then somebody might buy yours and then buy mine. You're buying both at the same time. I mean, it's not like you're a painter and you're selling paintings that are, tens of thousands of dollars, and someone's only going to buy one, and they have to choose between the 2 of us. So it's not a bad thing to have those comps, which I say until I'm blue in the face, and I feel like nobody ever listens to me, but I love comps. So,
and they're very important, especially as an indie author. Odds are, like, I lucked out in that I have a marketing background, and like I went to school for marketing, and I've been in marketing roles for a while. So this kind of stuff, even though it's book marketing, comes easier to me than it would if like my wife was doing it, whose background is in teaching, and she went to undergrad for psychology. Like, she would have a much harder time figuring this out. And so if you don't have a background in marketing, or even if you do, but it's not book marketing or publishing, then you really want to be looking at what's working for other people.
B's got a great question.
Question of the day.
Doug, when you do a children's book, you aren't targeting the kids who will read it. You're talking to the parents who will buy it for them. So how would you suggest that we deal with those gatekeepers?
So as a prolific writer of children's novels, I'm very equipped to write answers. No. Maybe one day I'll write a YA book, actually, which is not a children's book. I get it, but at least some.
No, but it's in Kidlit. They lump YA in with Kidlit. Yeah.
Just remember to keep the swearing down.
Yeah.
No, you can swear in YA. That's not off the table.
YA, yes. Middle grade, probably not.
No, I did put a British swear in one of my MGs, not realizing what level of British swear it was. I thought it was just an inane word. It was bloody. I put it in my pirate book, and I had a British editor from Hachette. Did I say it right this time? I always say it Hatchet.
Yes.
I come from and she was like, whoa, 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 you can't put that in a children's
Really?
book. And I'm like, what the heck is she talking about?
Okay, but for B's question here, you're doing largely the same thing, but your reader, when I say know your reader, then you need to do double duty for that one. You need to know your reader in that you need to understand what it is that age group wants and what they want to read. But then you also have to know what their parents are looking for, or what their guardians or people who are buying them gifts or whatever, what the adults are looking for that children or for that child. Which means you have to speak to the language of adults, but in a way that shows that you can speak to kids as well, which is a very, very difficult rope to balance on because leaning too far one way, it's going to sound, you're either going to sound ridiculous or you're going to sound potentially condescending. But leaning too far towards adults, it's going to be like, okay, this isn't a book for kids anymore. So that one, I can't give you super specifics on that. Abby, you might be able to answer this a bit better in terms of the details to include, but you are still selling to adults. So the same same practices, the same formula, the same layout, the same things that make it punchy still. But you just need to think more about the content and how that sells to the adult that you are writing for a kid.
I mean, I would say that one of the best things that you can really do is pick up a whole bunch of books and just start reading the back, because you're going to start to get a feel for how these jacket copies are written for children. Like Isadora Moon, obviously a kid is going to want this because it's got, you might not be able to see, but it's got glitter on the front. I mean, it's this little vampire girl. You flip through it. It's brightly illustrated. The back has got a great little illustration to it. But the jacket copy itself is written so that if a child picked it up and read it, they would understand what the book was about. But if a parent or a teacher picked it up, they would also see the value in it. And so I think that's what is so, so tricky when it comes to kids. But I think, you're right. The kids are reading the books, but the parents, the teachers, and the librarians are the ones putting them in their hands. And so you have to be able to appeal to both sides.
When I was younger, and I'll double check with my better half and report back tomorrow when we do the Q&A thing about how much kids are looking at the backs of books. But like when I received a book, maybe I'd look at the back when I got into my teen years, but most of the time I'm looking at the cover, be like, oh, this looks cool, and then I'm opening it and reading it. The exception being, like, we had Scholastic book fairs, right, where the library turned into a little book market, and so we'd go through, and then I'd be picking them up and reading them. But even at that age, it's more about the covers for kids than it is about the blurb. It's tough not to get a kid excited if they have a book in their hands that they already think they're going to like.
I mean, and if you look at this one, like she's a vampire who's also a fairy sitting on the front of the book. I'm like, what kid is not going to think that's freaking fantastic? And so, I mean, I think you're really spot on there, Doug. And I'm sorry, but one of my favorite quotes of all times was on the side of one of the taco stands in Austin, Texas. And it said, I have spent my entire adult life chasing the high of a Scholastic book fair. And that is true. Nothing compares to the high of a Scholastic book fair.
My parents also loved them because if they knew they were coming up, they'd say, okay, if you want, extra money for the book fair, you got to go and wash the dishes or cut the grass or do whatever chores they felt like getting done then. And I would jump to it right
You
away.
know what? My nieces, they know, don't even go to their mom. They come to Auntie because Auntie will send PayPal money and I won't even make them work for it. I was like, you want books, baby? Here you go. Here's $25. Have fun.
These shelves of mine have been, or me chasing the high of a scholastic book fair. And if I would have had this in 6th grade, I would have just never gone back to school.
B was asking, it says that she submitted hers. Does it come close to tantalizing for a child or adult? I haven't looked at it yet. I know we're critiquing them tomorrow. My plan was to wait till the last minute and do it tomorrow morning. So I'll let you know tomorrow, I think. But that does bring me to something that I think we kind of glossed over at the beginning. For a scholastic book fair, the kids are going around and they're picking up the books and they're looking at them. But I think our audience is a little bit biased, and myself included, when they think about how many people still go and browse shelves for a book and pick up a book and read the back cover copy. Because Amazon's the largest bookstore in the world, right?
Yeah.
And it is not even close
Not even
to
close.
whoever comes in second. So yes, it's important to do a good back cover. It's important to think about all of this stuff. But the vast majority of your sales are going to come as an indie author through your Amazon, through your website if you're doing direct sales, through online retailers. And Hank, you said at the beginning, ebooks trump paperback or hardcover. For my personal experience, ebooks and Kindle Unlimited is 95+% of my monthly royalties.
Yeah.
All through that.
I
That's
mean,
how people are doing it.
Just to hammer home the scholastic thing, though, not that I think indie people are getting into that. I don't think that you can get into it,
I
but
don't think so.
don't feel too bad about it because, that's basically just a fundraiser for the schools. So the writers make pennies from those books, not much at all.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Now,
So
it's still important, though, right? It's still important to have a great cover. And it's still important to have a good back cover blurb. And I encourage people to get out to their local bookstores, get into a consignment deal, get some of your books on their shelves, sell it locally, go to book signings. If you're at a convention or an event or a signing, their people will pick up your book and read the back cover, and they'll do it right in front of you. And you'll silently hope that they're like, oh yeah, this sounds good. And then sometimes they put it down without a word and walk away, and you feel devastated. Not speaking from experience, of course.
There's nothing like being judged to your face.
Here's the thing. I don't mind if you don't want the book, but it's the coming up when I'm sitting there with a big smile on my face, picking up the book, reading it, and then not saying a word.
Or the little laugh under their breath, and then drop it and walk away. That's got to be worse. Yeah.
Hey, B's got a good question. Okay, you got it.
Yeah. So Kindle Unlimited is a program that Amazon runs. So KDP is Kindle Direct Publishing, and that is the platform that we indie authors use to publish our books. That includes ebooks, paperbacks, and hardcovers. Does not include audiobooks. That goes through ACX if you're using Amazon or whatever other platform you want to use. Kindle Unlimited, you can enroll your ebook into Kindle Unlimited, and that puts it into a library where people pay. It used to be $9.99 a month. Now I think it's like $12.99 or something.
$12.99.
Yeah, they pay a monthly subscription to be able to essentially borrow any book from this library up to, again, it used to be 10, it might be 20 now, books at a time. And then, is it 10?
I think it's still 10. Yeah.
Okay.
I was recently told I had to put one back.
But it's 10 at a time, and as soon as you finish one book, you return it and you
the next one.
get another. And you can borrow unlimited amounts over a month's time if you return them. So
yeah. And so then every author enrolled in it gets paid out based on the number of page reads they got and the total number of page reads of every author in Kindle Unlimited gets added up, and then the pot of money reserved for authors from that subscription gets divided by the number of page reads, and you get paid per page read for that month's pot. And it is, I have such mixed feelings about Kindle Unlimited, but one, Kindle Unlimited is a feature that you can enroll your ebook in, but you're publishing your ebook through KDP with Amazon. Let's make sure that's out there and clear. Kindle Unlimited is the biggest source of revenue for a lot of authors, myself included. I make more money from Kindle Unlimited than I do from ebook sales. But Kindle Unlimited is, I'm trying to, like, how much is Activist Doug coming out right now?
You're
Kindle
talking about
Unlimited,
the velvet handcuffs?
yeah. Well, kind of. It's what I call the continued devaluing of art. And you see it in, if you're a video gamer like me, Xbox Game Pass gives you access to games for $10 a month, like all these new games that would cost $60, $70, $80 to buy, right? But you can pay $10 a month and get them for free. You can pay $10 or $12 a month for Kindle Unlimited and read an infinite number of books for just that amount. And it's so difficult because that means if someone reads one of my books, I'm getting, I don't know, $1 for it, maybe, if that, maybe even less, maybe like 70 cents or something. But it's great for the consumer. It's not great for the artist, but now we are so dependent on it. Like you said, the velvet handcuffs, Hank, we are so dependent on Kindle Unlimited for the money that it's a tough situation to be in. So I recommend Kindle Unlimited for indie authors because it is so lucrative, but there's like a moral issue that I have with it at the same time that people should be aware of.
Also, one side of KDP or Kindle Unlimited is that you have to be exclusive to Amazon. So if you're enrolled
I was
in
gonna say that.
KDP or in Kindle Unlimited, then you cannot publish over on Apple Books, Barnes and Noble. For most people, like you said, Doug, the majority of your sales come through that, and Amazon is the largest bookseller in the world, and there are people that will become Amazon customers for access to Kindle Unlimited and all of that. And so it is a decision that has to be made. Do I want to put all of my eggs in this one basket? Granted, it's a gigantic basket. But those are decisions that you have to make, and they're not always warm fuzzy decisions. Sometimes you make a decision while holding your nose and you say, well, this is the best thing for my career right now. And I think it's a 90-day term that you agree.
I think so, yeah.
90 days. So at the worst, if the market drastically changes and you want to pull out of Amazon and go wide, as they say, where you go to Amazon and Barnes and Noble and Apple and any retailer, the worst thing that's going to happen is that you sit out 90 days and before you can publish wide, which can be a big deal. I'm not making light of that. But, right now, especially if you're writing genre fiction, fantasy, sci-fi, mystery thrillers, things like that, it's kind of the best thing going at the moment for the reasons that we've already enumerated. But it's not a lifetime decision. It's kind of a 1 quarter at a time decision. And, each quarter when you re-up, you kind of have to weigh and see what the market is like, and is Amazon still the best choice I can make right now? And
so you're not giving them a 90-day lead to get out, you're just signing up 90 days at a time.
No, I think it's a 90-day lead to get out, because
Yeah.
I haven't re-enrolled in Kindle Unlimited. There might be an option that you can pick.
And isn't it an auto opt-in? I think you have to opt out. Like once you opt in, I think it will just
keep doing it,
re-up you, because I don't.
Which is smart on their side.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Because if you forget, then but
which most of us
so
do.
most of us do. So it's just, it's one more hat that you have to wear as an
Mhm.
indie author. You have to, not only have your writer hat and then your editor hat, now your marketer hat, and now your business
Mhm.
manager hat to, keep up with all those things. And, I don't want to put too much emphasis on it because it's not a burdensome thing, at least right now. But it is something that you need to stay on top of. Set calendar reminders, whatever, to check these things so that you don't forget.
Yeah. I just checked as well. Like I went into my KDP backend and yeah, you can tick a box to automatically re-enroll every 90 days. There's a question there from B, but I want to address what Reed said real quick. And I don't know, do we have a hard end time for this? Like I know we're over an hour already, but okay. So Reed saying it's the exclusivity that turns me off of it, which I concur.
Yeah.
That is something that turns me off as well. But Hank, what you said at one point there was it depends on where you are in your author career, and I think Kindle Unlimited, for better or for worse, about Amazon and the value of art and whatever conversations we can have, Kindle Unlimited is the most lucrative option for authors early on in their career and potentially later on into their career. But I think that changes if you can cultivate a very strong community, like an email list around your book. And the more that you can get people to buy your book because they're a fan and not because it's free for them to read, free with the $12 a month subscription. But for them, for Reader Math says it's free.
Right.
The more that you can get them to buy your book, the more you can move away from something like that. And you can sell directly from your website, or you can push them to your Amazon page and get more from a sale to them than you would from a Kindle Unlimited read. But for someone, if you're publishing your first book, your first 5 books, go Kindle Unlimited. Even the bestseller that I have, the new number 1 new releases that I have, everything that I wrote with Mike Massey, who's pulling in 6 figures with his books, the lion's share of his royalties and the royalties that we split for those come from Kindle Unlimited. So it's such a double-edged sword. And honestly, it warrants a whole conversation that would derail this show and kind of already has. But there's also B saying here, so my children's book probably not a good fit on Kindle Unlimited, but my Dragon Cat series would be a better fit when it's finished, which is an interesting observation because I want to agree with you, but I don't know the demographics of Kindle Unlimited readers, like parents who pay for it so that their kids can get access to it or a share.
I had wondered, because Reed brought up as a longtime Mac user, I'm going to want to put my books up on iBooks. And I thought there are so many kids out there that have iPads. I wonder, even though there is a Kindle app for your iPad, I'm not sure, because that's, generally the iPad, it would be connected to automatically put the books on very easily to your iBooks library as well. I'm actually going to dig in and look into that a little bit. I think so. Maybe one of the easiest ways to research this, Doug, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is to start finding a slew of other children's authors in my particular subgenre, and look to see if their books are on Kindle Unlimited or not. Like, is it just kind of a boots on the ground sort of thing? Like, just start looking, like who's doing what.
Yeah. It is just boots on the ground. It's just figure out who's doing it. And I mean, I could Google it or could look real quickly, but that's going to be too much of a distraction. You can, it's tough because if you want it on iBooks, Amazon, like publishing through KDP, will get it there as well, but not if you do KDP Select. And KDP Select is what you have to enroll in to get into Kindle Unlimited. Now that exclusivity only applies to ebooks, so you could sell your paperback and hardcovers elsewhere, but as we said before, the sales are 5% compared to 95%. Right? So it's a tough one. It's a very difficult question. Yeah. And then
And one thing you could do, B, is go onto Amazon and browse through the top 100 sellers in your category. So find a book that is similar genre and category. Find a comp like Abby has told us that we should do, and then in the at the bottom of that product detail on that page, you'll see the bestseller rank, and you'll see the three categories that it's ranked in. Click on one of those, and you can see the top 100 books. And then when you do that, you can see if a book is enrolled in Kindle Unlimited. Right above the thumbnail of the book, it'll say Kindle Unlimited. Now, take that top 100 books and see how many in your genre and category are enrolled in Kindle Unlimited, and that'll help you to get an idea of if readers of your age range genre, if they are typically Kindle Unlimited readers. That's a way to do a little market research kind of on the fly.
All right, let me ask a real tricky question to you boys, because you might be able to tell me if this is a workaround. Like, I just pulled up Amazon, I pulled up children's books, I clicked 9 to 12. So I'm just looking at the top ones. Of course, Harry Potter is up at the top, right? So hard to beat that one. It says Kindle Unlimited, Kindle Edition. Now, for a book like Harry Potter, there's the illustrated edition, there's the regular edition, there's all of these things. So I'm looking and it says Kindle Unlimited, Kindle Edition. And I went to Barnes & Noble and I pulled up Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, but I'm really only seeing the hardcover. So that's telling me that it's not them being tricky and releasing a special edition that is somewhat different from the first original Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone ebook, correct? It sounds like it's just Kindle Unlimited, and then you have to buy the hardcover if you go someplace else. So, I mean, that just from that quick search, looks like even J.K. Rowling is playing that game.
Yeah. And there are benefits to it as well. Where, like, I was just looking today, you can, if you watch Amazon Prime, like anything on Amazon Prime, you know that they have an X-ray option where you can learn more about the cast or something about it. They have X-ray options for Kindle books too. And as an indie author, you can actually go through and it will identify characters and terms. The terms it's not so great at, but characters in your novel. And you can go and create X-ray information for that. So people are reading on their Kindle, they can tap on a character's name and pull up like a biography about them or a description or something, whatever you want to include. So there are cool tools, right? And for as much as I'd love to just rail on Amazon all day, and I would, trust me, there are some cool things that they offer us, and it would be impossible for a lot of indie authors to be indie authors without Amazon. So credit where credit's due, I guess. But yeah, that's where we're at with that. We veered a little away from back cover copy.
We can continue this conversation though in week 5, which is all about arcs and distribution. So Hank, do you want to plug week 4 before we?
Week 4 is I should have had this pulled up already.
Formatting.
Yeah, it's formatting, and we're going to have a special guest. Josh Hayes is going to join us because one of his, not only is he an author and a podcaster, but he does book formatting as a side gig and has formatted lots and lots of books. And he has some insight into how to make your document that you've written into a beautiful, presentable, enjoyable reading experience. So he's going to be our special guest to talk about that. And then I've put together some thoughts as well that will be available Monday morning. And then we're going to take your questions next Friday, as always. and beat that dead horse as long as we can.
Mhm.
I joke,
I think we're
but
just going to still have plenty of
formatting is
fodder.
formatting is one of those things that it seems like is an afterthought. But if you've ever read a book that is poorly formatted, you know it. Like it should be transparent. Formatting should be something that you never consider until you see one that is formatted poorly, and then you're so appreciative for the behind the scenes work that went into making it an enjoyable experience. So it is something that needs to be considered, and there are a few things that you need to learn so that you make sure that that your formatting is done properly. For ebook devices, for paperback, and it should carry across the spectrum. So we're going to talk all about that next week.
And you
And
guys
if you
have me
read as
roped in
many
for another
kid-
week too, right?
I think we do.
Yeah.
But
What's
I was
that?
going to say, if you read as many kids' books as I read, and then you go and you pick up an adult book, like every time my knee-jerk reaction is, why are these words so small?
Mm,
I can't hardly read this. I have to get my cheaters.
yeah, that's why I have cheaters everywhere.
But I'm back in week. What is it? Which week is websites? I'm back for websites.
That is week 6.
Week
Week
6.
6.
Yep.
Excellent. Yeah.
Right sandwich between Nick Cole and Jason Onspach. Nick's going to talk about ARCs and distribution channels and direct sales, and Jason is going to talk about newsletters. And they are two of the most successful guys in those areas that I could think of, and going to learn an awful lot. And then sandwiched right between them is Dougie talking about websites.
Excellent. All right. Well,
Yep.
thanks for having me
Okay,
as a
everybody.
guest, you guys.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Join
Thanks for
join
joining.
Abby and I tomorrow at standard podcast time, where we're gonna take your questions. And do we have a place where
Dissect
people can
some jacket
post
copy.
questions ahead of time?
We have a place where they can post jacket copy ahead of time, but the questions could also go in the same thread. So if you do have something ahead of time and you know you're not going to be with us live, you can definitely put that in the same thread as the jacket copy, and we'll see it. So
Awesome.
right.
Well, thanks for joining us, guys. We'll see you tomorrow, and I hope your indie publishing journey has been fun, and hopefully that everyone's learning all kind of stuff. Abby, we'll see you tomorrow. Doug, thanks for joining us.
Peace out.
Have a great vacation. You're going on vacation next week, aren't you?
I am. I'm on vacation all next week. I will be lakeside at a cottage, just enjoying no work. So
we'll be jealous.
Nice. We'll hold
Thanks,
down
everybody.
the fort.
Thanks.
See you.